You're listening to the Limitless Leadership podcast, the podcast designed to help automotive repair shops learn how to lead, coach, train, and manage their team better by sharing proven techniques and thought-provoking interviews from industry leaders. Are you ready to transform your leadership skills by tapping into unrecognized potential to achieve limitless results? Let's get ready for liftoff. It's time to go from great to greater. Here's today's episode.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Limitless Leadership podcast. I'm your host, Josh Parnell. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. It's on YouTube. It's on all the podcast platforms, Google, Spotify, Apple. But don't forget to like and subscribe. Today, we got a great guest today. We got a guest who has been on the show before. If you've listened before, go back to episode 24 because Jon Kidwell, an incredible leadership coach, is here today to reintroduce himself and to share with us an incredible platform that he's developed. And I'm pumped to share this with you all. So Jon Kidwell, man, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me back. I feel like that means I get to come back. Woo!
This is not going to be your last time. You're going to keep on coming back.
Okay, great. We'll do 6 months on the next one. So it's
Perfect.
Not a year. All
Let's
right.
do it.
Let's do it.
So Jon, I want to go and formally introduce you, Jon. You're a leadership coach, you're a consultant, you're a published author of an incredible book called Redefine Your Servant Leadership. If you're watching this episode on YouTube, I'm holding the book up. If you haven't gone to get this book before, again, go back to listen to episode 24. It's all about this book, but also once you hear Jon today, you're going to want to run to Amazon and grab a copy. And Jon is also the founder and CEO of a Leadwell, a leadership development company for mission-driven leaders and organizations. And lastly, well, maybe not lastly, because you got your husband, father,
All the things, yeah.
But I'm trying to contain my excitement about what you have going on, and I'm not being facetious by any means. I'm pumped about what you've developed with your team. It's a platform, it's an app called Leadwell Plus, and I'm really excited for you to dive into Leadwell Plus today. Yeah. But before you do, share with the audience all the things that I didn't. Who is Jon Kidwell?
Friend of Josh Parnell, which is right up there, right? But yeah, I call Houston home. Been able to kind of work in a bunch of different industries, from business and retail to education to not-for-profit to having our leadership development company and 3 kiddos and a wonderful wife. And as often as I can, I try to make sure that my faith and my family is the priority above work, but get to do some amazing work just like you, going and helping people do the thing that they spend so much time and energy on, working, serving other people. It's so fun to be able to do that for a living.
It's always nice to be able to connect with other coaches, especially leadership coaches. You and I both are in the same line of work, the same field. In fact, you and I met through our journeys in entrepreneurship.
That's right.
Overlap.
Yeah.
Right around today, right around
some other good person connected us. It's right. You two should get together.
Yeah. Well, and we both released each our books about a year ago, and so that's how we initially got connected and have continued the friendship throughout. And man, I'm very thankful to have gotten to know you, and man, consider myself blessed to know Jon Kidwell. So
right back at you, brother.
Let me ask you, Jon, what got you into the field of work? What got you into getting specifically into leadership coaching as well?
It's always been one of those things that's so intriguing to me. I remember loving leading, the ability and the responsibility to influence a group, the attitudes, the thoughts, the behaviors, because we got something really important. I remember starting doing that through my church, doing youth group. I remember being captain of sports teams, and you're broad, and all of us, we don't know what we're doing, right? And you kind of figure it out. But even in education, the first proper leadership book that I read, it was 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. And this was pre when I didn't read, right? I don't know for anybody else, if it was I had to read for school and then I just didn't read. And then one day I was
most of us,
this ain't a bad thing. Right. And I got in and I just couldn't stop. And I was just so enthralled with it that has always been the avenue of well, Jon, are you the marketing guy or do you like doing this or this? I was I don't know. I like leading people. I love teams and people and being able to work with people to solve business problems and perform well. That's what I love to do. And it was always the niche. And so when it came down to, okay, leaving kind of post-corporate, what are you going to do? I was having coffee, not as nice a mug as this, but I was having coffee with my wife and she was like, what are you going to do? And I said, I want to help leaders be better leaders. We spend so much time at work, and great leaders make everything better. And so how can we help people do that? And she's like, go figure that out. I said, let's do it. And that's pretty much where it started.
So what does it look like for you? What's your scope of work? Like, who are your main clientele? I mean, for most of my audience, you probably know that the majority of my clients are in the automotive repair industry.
Yes.
I'm very
grateful
niche.
for all of your clients. The number of times I've changed my oil, 0. The number of times I've known what to do with my car, 0. So I am completely beholden to the industry you serve.
You know, you and I both have the same mission, and that is to reach people and build leaders. Yeah. We want to make sure that we can reach as many people as possible and build as many leaders as possible. But I'll ask you, what does it look like if I'm listening and I'm saying, hey, you know what? Like, yeah, I like Josh, but Jon sounds way cooler than he is. Like, what if I want to
Then you are wrong. Let's just look at the coolness factors that each of us have going on.
But what if someone wants to work with you? What does that look like?
Yeah. So we are primarily working with organizations that are 50 to 500 people in our kind of leadership development, coaching, and consulting. We'll go in and we'll work with a team of leaders or a business owner and their leadership team, where we work with the executive team. We have a program, Leadwell development program, where we come in and we help train and essentially become your leadership development arm. And we train up key leaders, key managers in your organization by taking them through that program. And then the one that is more for anybody that's a leader inside of a business, whether you're a business owner, an executive, a pastor, whatever that might be, a CEO, Leadwell Plus is a platform that is more focused on, this is for organizations. This is for businesses from 3 to 3,000, right? But we really try to focus in on that like 10 to 500 for team members and that inside of Leadwell Plus.
And if I'm hearing you correctly, Jon, you're doing something that I also try to convey to my clients, and that is, as a shop owner, if you're listening, I want to give you the gift of time. I want to give you the gift of time and money. It's your responsibility to grow and develop leaders.
Yep.
Invest in your team and hire someone who lives and breathes this type of
for sure.
Leadership, if you will, to be able to come in and do the work for you, to free you up, to focus on other things. You mentioned Leadwell Plus.
Yep.
That is the namesake of this episode, Leadwell Plus. And I think being able to introduce this platform to this audience is something that I'm just, again, very excited about. What is Leadwell Plus and why is it necessary?
So Leadwell Plus is a platform to really help leaders both see and get a sentiment for the culture, the workplace health of the organization. It elevates some of the most important things at work for me as a team member, you as a leader, and it equips us so that we can talk about it, build relationship, solve problems, and move all of those priorities forward so we can perform, right? But we very much take a team approach, a leader and team member approach to building relationship, solving problems, and performance comes out of that, right? You have a great saying. Say the saying that you say around engagement and the need to be connected with folks.
I've been beating this like a drum for a while, and that is connection creates engagement, and engagement increases performance.
And it's 100% true. And the way that we say it is relationship precedes desired results.
Love that.
Right.
So let's speak to that, because a lot of us, especially as business owners, we're thinking, hey, I want results. I mean, as a business owner,
me too.
I want to, make a profit to stay in business. I want to increase my revenue. So I'm focused on the results. But what you're sharing with us is that we need to exercise one of the 7 habits of highly effective people. Begin with the end in mind. The end in mind is the results, but I'm beginning there. I shift my focus now to relationships, to connection, to people. What does that look like?
Well, just think about it this way. This is one of the ways that I think about it. How many times do you get folks coming to your door and they're knocking and they're leaving stuff about roof or they're leaving stuff about landscaping or they're trying to sell you solar panels, and all of it's always happening at 5 or 6 o'clock. And I got 3 kids, so that's about when we're eating, right? And they're always coming and they're always trying to pitch something. And I don't know them from Jane or Adam or anybody.
Yep.
Same as at work, where if I don't know you, it's a lot harder to get invested in what you care about, right? Now, at the same time, if my neighbor's lawn guy comes over and says, hey, your area was totally messed up, we just blew it off while we were doing your neighbor, and by the by, here's this. If you ever need anybody, and we'll give you a little discount because your neighbor's there. Like, oh, I'm totally talking to that guy. 100% interested.
Right.
Similarly at work, when I know Josh, when I've invested in getting to know Josh, when I know a little bit of what's going on with you here, how are you feeling about work these days? What are some of the specific areas that are high and low for you right now? What are some of the things that make you tick? And now I can understand, well, this is why you love the work. This is what you might need right now. This is the way that you and I now have this relational connection where not only do we get to do the work together, we want to do the work together.
So
And we have that social cohesion where so many times I feel like, well, I don't want to reach out to Josh because I'm going to put it on it. I'm going to be a jerk boss. I'm going to say, hey man, you got to go do this. But if we've got that relationship, a lot of those one-offs, they don't move the needle up or down, right? And we get to move into the desired results where, okay, hey, we're good. Hey, we've talked about this. Hey, we can actually have a little bit of healthy conflict trying to get to the best answer. And that's when we start getting to desired results.
And when you establish the relationship like you did, difficult conversations don't have to be difficult.
No.
People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Right. And we get to create two things so that we can provide two things. We get to create safety and trust so that we can provide clarity and direction. And this is a great way to connect from a foundational level, which ultimately creates more engagement and increases performance. And why is this important? It's important because 70% of employees are disengaged at work.
Yeah.
They don't feel seen.
Yep.
They don't feel heard. They don't feel understood. They don't feel valued.
Right.
But conversely speaking, 80% of people are fully engaged when they receive meaningful feedback at least
once a week.
Once a week.
Yep.
Once a week. And so this is a great way to have a once a week check-in. This is almost a bit of a survey. And so if I'm going to ask you, Jon, from a user perspective, how much time am I putting into this? Because I know the biggest kickback that we might get as to why I don't want to introduce anything else to my business. I got so many people reaching out, so many people trying to sell me something, so many things and resources available, but but knowledge without application is just information.
Yeah.
How much time will Leadwell Plus take me if I'm a user of it?
So before we talk about that, which 2 to 3 minutes, but before we talk about that, what I would say is that what is the benefit on the back end of being able to align around and have visibility in real time to how is it going in my business, right? How is it going in my business? What are some of the key factors that I might need to focus on or my managers might need to focus on right now? Where are the gaps? Which team has this on lock and which team it's a little bit of a pothole to get where we need to get to? That visibility, to be able to get the insight on the culture, to be able to see where your key leaders, your managers are, so that you don't get the like, oh, I thought that person was going to take over the business for me in 10 years and they just evaporated for 25 cents more an hour, right? Like, what? I didn't see that one coming. To be able to get that level of clarity on, oh, we need a communication focus. Oh, we need to build a theme of what is our target for the next 6 months because of what's going on in the business. Oh, we're running really hard. We're stressing people out. We're wearing them down. Okay. How do we solve for that? Or how do we communicate? This is the season we're in. Those are some of the things that we have found that the platform will help with. The genesis of it was I was on calls with clients of ours and it's fantastic. And it's also one of those, like, it really took all that to figure this out. But anywho, I'm on with CEOs and they're talking about, man, I think we got a communication problem. Like I'm saying these things, but I don't think they're getting to all of our team members. Or there's a couple of things that have happened, Jon, and I just don't know that I trust that the culture of the business is where I thought it was. Or I just had 4 key team members leave in 6 weeks. And what? Like I had no idea. Or everybody keeps saying they don't know what their top priority is. And like, I feel like we're putting it out there and everybody knows. And they're wondering and because it's so ambiguous, right?
Yep.
As a leader, there's so much time in between connection points. And we'll go into meetings and we do some of these things, but especially folks that have multi-site or if you have any sort of remote, there's just a lot of time in between. And I'm not sitting here saying micromanage and look over your people. I'm saying proximity and being able to be around folks helps. And if we don't always have that, we create touch points. So anyways, I'm talking to all these CEOs and then the last guy that I was talking to that was talking about people leaving, and I'm reminding them, we go through this in training. We have templates to help you and to help your team. And they're all like, oh yeah. And then the final one guy's like, I'm going to have our IT guy turn this into something digital, and he's going to be so mad at me for it. And I was like, hold please. What? And so we went back, we built an MVP. We came back to our clients and said, what do you think? We tweaked it from there. We made sure that we went and said, okay, we've been doing this. We like this. We know the benefit for our company. We see the benefit for you, right? You got fantastic ratings from your national organization. You're growing your bottom line. You got people that are staying longer. But where's the research to support this? So we went back and level set against Gallup and Deloitte and McKinsey and all these big ones that are doing big global studies. Yeah. And we just kept pulling out and finding themes about these things that mattered to folks. And they were really important drivers of our individual contribution, AKA our engagement at work. And so we put them in the system. We started asking folks about it. And that's when we started getting magic into the Leadwell Plus. And so it is a weekly check-in system, right? It's a weekly report, if you will, or a weekly check-in where if you are my leader, Josh, I'm doing a check-in on these things. My well-being, how's it going? How's my stress? My workload? How's it going at home, right? Well-being, boom. My recognition and support. Am I getting some of that positive and corrective feedback like you talked about? Do I have the tools that I need? How is it going in my work relationships? Is Jon, I hope it's not me, but is Jon being a jerk, right? And I need some help fixing that, or just team dynamics are a little rough right now, right? But checking in on work relationships, checking in on communication, checking in on meaningful work. Now, a lot of folks are like, what? And I could see how one in the automotive industry might take a leap and be like, what do you mean? I just told you what I mean. I don't change my oil. I can't change my oil. I've had hoses come apart and I was like, this car's just done. And then it's like a $75 fix and put back together, right? Yeah. And they're like, oh, you're fine, Jon, right? And my expertise ends at my tire. I can change my tire. Right. Other than that, I am beholden to somebody doing great service. And that is meaningful work because you get me going to my job. You get my kids going to school. Yeah. I am able to move and access the world around me because my car is good and taken care of, right? That's meaningful work, giving people the ability to move and transport and do all that stuff. So we check in on meaningful work, which really means, do I get to use my strengths and do I believe in the work that we're doing that is good? And then the last one is goals and priorities. Do I know my goals and priorities? Are they clear and can I make progress on them?
If I'm listening to this, I'm hearing, there's so many buzzwords that are coming to my mind that you haven't even mentioned, which is a benefit of Leadwell Plus, which is accountability.
Yeah.
You mentioned communication. Yep. We know that when there's a breakdown in communication, voids tend to get created, and oftentimes negativity fills those voids.
Yes. And
poor communication is costing shop owners 18% of total salaries being paid out on an annual basis, which means if you're listening and you're a shop owner and if you're paying $1 million in salary across an entire year, poor communication could be creating sunk costs in the amount of $180,000-ish every single year. And
that's suffocating, man. That's probably like 3, 4, 5 texts, right? I don't know what they make, but we say communication is like oxygen. When it's there, you don't really notice it. When it's gone, everybody suffocates.
It's wild.
And that number was suffocating if I'm paying out that much.
And again, that's just a single shop because you mentioned earlier multi-unit owners. There's a lot of multi-unit owners who are listening to this podcast episode right now. And I'm sharing this with you. You might own enough shops that poor communication is creating $180,000-ish because we don't know what the size of your shop is, but we're not talking about potentially a 6-figure opportunity area here. This might be a 7-figure opportunity area here, maybe more depending on how many shops you have. It's wild to think about how a simple communication resource, a tool, being able to apply the information that we talked about. Remember, knowledge without application is just information. There's a lot of us who know the importance of communication. There's a lot of us who know the importance of meeting with team members, but we get so fixated on the result, which should be the end in mind. But how are we shifting our focus from the profit, from the process, from the content to the person, to the connection, to the conversation that ultimately creates engagement and subsequently increases performance. So
just to kind of to your point, this is something I've been trying to do for 15 years, always kind of getting that check-in, right? How are the people? Are we clear on comms? Do we know what's important? Because we always have to align around those things. And we are here to do really good work. We want to serve people. We want to be able to deliver on our promises. We also want to be able to make some money and generate some profit so that we can continue to do these wonderful things, pay people more, invest in stuff, have jobs, all of those wonderful, wonderful things. And it was always how do I best do this? How do I check in? How do I do all of these things? And here's the thing that I have been finding over 15 years of doing weekly check-ins and one-on-ones. I get more information. My team members get more clarity. We remain more nimble, and we're able to do things faster because I give them so much time back. Because every single one of us is still going to try to get that information. We're just going to do it by an interruptive text or by an email chain or by, I got to call everybody together because I don't know what's going on, right? So we're still going to try to get there. And what we're saying is just change how you do it, right? Flip the script just a little bit. Instead of doing it on the back end, do a little bit of it on the front end, create a process around it that you're checking in and starts to become a rhythm that's taken 2 to 3 minutes that folks can do it on their phone, and it equips you for that one-on-one. So then you can go in real fast, talk about the topics you need, circle up, check in on the actions that are most important, and move, right?
Connect your tools, connect your teams. You're talking about being able to be proactive with your communication as well, because how many of us have our one-on-ones because we need to meet with someone? There's a
I did that. I did that for so long, right? Like, oh, shoot, I forgot about Jay. I haven't talked to Jay in like 9 weeks. Like, Jay, you free tomorrow? Yeah.
Yeah. Or we'll just run up straight up to Jay and say, hey, is now a good time? And Jay's like, sure. He's like, you're interrupting him while he's doing his work, but it's convenient for you. And so being able to be proactive and not reactive. There's so many of us who do have check-ins. We do have one-on-ones,
100%.
but it's reactive. It's reactionary because someone messed up, someone quote unquote messed up. And we have to go and correct them. And you know, correction is for your protection, not your rejection. But wouldn't it be nice to have some proactive communication ahead of time? So we know exactly how someone is doing up here. If you're watching, I'm pointing to my, if you're listening, I'm pointing to my head, and how someone's doing in here, and I'm pointing to my heart. We want to make sure that we're checking on the person before the process, the name before the job title, Jon Kidwell, the husband and the father before Jon Kidwell, the professional, the leadership coach.
You get all of me, right? You get all of me no matter how it slices and dices. And so, I personally would rather work with folks that I do have that. I get that we might be a little bit more on that relational side, but I'd rather do it that way because when push comes to shove, when all the chips are down, what I find is that those teams are bound together a lot stronger. So good. Right? That when we get to that point of other people would break, other people would leave, this group has something that they've rallied around. And it's, I have a connection with you more than a paycheck.
Yes.
I have purpose. I have relationship. This is part of my people. All right. My tribe. This is where I want to be. And that's what we're trying to build. And so getting back into that platform and like, how do you use it? How do you do that? Cause like you said, we're doing one-on-ones or we're doing communication. The beautiful thing is it's not something where we're trying to infiltrate and take over. We're trying to support. And I remind folks all the time, this is not a replacement for the good things you're doing.
Yeah.
If you're doing the management by walking around and you're checking in on folks and you're doing that, this should merely supplement that. It should give you more insight for when you do that, right? This technology cannot replace you actually talking with people.
That's so important. I love hearing that.
So here's the exact play out, right? Every single Friday, I'd go through and I'd check in on those 6 areas: well-being, recognition and support, work relationships, communication, meaningful work, goals and priorities. Smiley faces, emojis. And it's all on your phone or on your laptop, so people can do it super fast. It takes about 2 to 3 minutes. Most of the time, people put in some text, contextualize, right? Communication is yellow. Hey, we made some changes in the shop, or this rolled out and I didn't hear about it till after the fact. Would have been nice to hear about on the front end, right? Like, and that
it happens.
We can all see how that would be something that might make it in there, right? Sure. Or like for mine, all of a sudden, 1 week, I saw everybody involved in a project basically go from green to yellow and realized, oh, I have become the problem and the roadblock, and I might need to clarify some things here so everybody can go. But we fixed it in 48 hours instead of 6 weeks.
Yes, so
right?
Good.
So they go through to that quick check-in. They get their own report. I, as their leader, or you, Josh, right? In our example, you're my leader. You actually get that report. So you see it. For you and me, it's just a conversation. Our team members tell us it's a low stakes way to highlight some things that are important to them. And our leaders tell us this is gold information, right? Being able to see how people are doing, where they're at, and what are some of the things that now I can engage with, topics, action items, clarity points, or just coming in to support, whatever that might be, remove the roadblocks and help support them. And it feeds into our direct and indirect conversation, right? Walking by and just saying, hey man, kids volleyball game this past weekend, huh? Like that was super cool. How did it play out, right? Or sometimes it's, hey, I saw that you put something in communication. We got one-on-one on Thursday. Are we good talking about it then, or you want to jump into it now, right? Like there's that informal, but then there's also, okay, inside a one-on-one, here's some stuff that I pulled out of Leadwell Plus that we can look at from the check-in. Here's the other things we got going on. And now let's focus on goals and priorities and make sure those are abundantly clear. What's so intriguing around some of the data around engagement, the thing that has shown to move it, and it really hasn't moved in like 10, 15 years, like engagement in the workforce, but the thing that has shown to move it is clear goals and priorities. If I know my targets, I'm more engaged.
It makes sense. Direction. I mean, we talk about clarity and direction. And how many of you listening, anyone who's ever left or lost a job, you likely didn't have both clarity and direction. And so this tool, this platform provides the opportunity for clarity and direction. And you said it only takes 2 or 3 minutes.
2 or 3 minutes. Yeah. 2 or 3 minutes for everybody to check in. The leaders, I basically just say like, hey y'all, here's how I go through and use it. And we got great examples of how others have is like, man, they saw an entire branch, or like in your case, like a shop in one of those multi-shop, whole thing just down. They had a VP over their retail. He jumped out into that branch, basically spent a week there. They were having a really hard time. Wouldn't you know it? We pulled out, looked at the data with their entire organization. And that one thing was the trajectory that sent everything going in a positive direction. They also have outperformed their industry 1% growth rate to 5% growth rate in member acquisition last year.
Wow.
Pretty amazing, right?
Yes.
Pretty amazing. And that team is their retail team. That team is tied to it. And it was about August where they had this big pivot and jump. So some crazy fun stories to be able to see like that, but you get the insights as a leader directly for your team, or as an owner or an executive for divisions, where you can jump in on some of those things and you can really hone in on, do we have a spot where we need to communicate differently or more, or do we need to figure out how to trickle our goals and priorities beyond one level of the organization to another level of the organization?
Love that. All right, Jon. So you've given us the benefits. You know the how. Now let's talk about, if I'm listening, I'm saying, hey, this sounds great. I need this.
Yes.
What's my investment?
$10 per person per month.
$10 per person per month.
Yeah. And I actually haven't told you everything that you get. You and I just talked about the weekly check-in, right?
Sorry, I'm jumping the gun here.
No.
I'm ready to buy.
I know. Yeah. Well, thank you. And to be fair, you already have, right? You already use this at Limitless. And so
that's why I believe in it so much too.
So it's $10 per person per month. And on top of that weekly check-in, then there's a one-on-one module to help essentially me, but y'all too, me and all of y'all take what we've been doing in notebooks for 77 years and then losing them and then being like, what did I talk about with James last week? Like, I don't know. And then 7 weeks later, you're like, oh yeah, that project. So we built in a one-on-one module that actually takes things straight from the survey. You can drop them in there. You and the team member can add topics, and then there are action items, and those will translate across. So you have some flow. You said accountability. There's also some structure that is there. We have coaching tools to do it. And then the other piece is there is a learning platform. So there's videos, tutorials, right? How do you have and set goals with somebody? How do you do one-on-ones? How do you engage in difficult conversations? How do I delegate? Video modules with downloads and things to help guide folks through that. And so all of those pieces, $10 per month per person.
If you're a shop owner and you're listening and you're thinking, hey, I have 10 people I have 10 employees in my shop, this tool is a $100 per month investment.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a fraction of one single average repair, one single repair order.
Yeah.
$100.
Yeah. And the reason is because a lot of folks on average will spend between $1,000 and $2,000 in training and development. And that's a big price tag. And that's a great thing for shop owners, for executives. Like, that investment in people is awesome. How can we take some of that cost and investment for people down, make it more effective, right?
So good.
And then combine it with some of the tools that we already need in the business. And we believe that we can do that through a tech platform and make it accessible to where it's like, okay, we get to talk about what's most important, and I get the insights on how it's going in my business and what I would need to do to make it better. We've got some tools to equip and help people actually then do this thing that we know is the silver bullet: meeting with people, engaging in meaningful conversation with positive and corrective feedback through one-on-ones. If we can do that, and then if we can train and equip you, if we can do that all for $10 a month per person, it's like, we want to get it to folks because we know the benefit of it.
It's a no-brainer. And as a user of it myself, with our team, Limitless Leadership, we've used this platform and it works. Like, I will tell you right now, it works. It is a no-brainer. And so if you're listening, you're thinking, hey, like, I'm as eager as Josh to invest in this as well. I want this for my team. What does that look like? How can we get a demo set up for the shop owners?
So that module inside of there, right? It's the Leadwell Plus platform, and that module inside of there is called Workwell. We call it your Workwell check-in because we want folks to work well, right? That should be good. We should be healthy at work. We should do work well. We should work hard, and it should be going good. It's a lot easier when there's a little oil in the engine and not so much friction and smoke coming out, right?
Automotive pun.
There you go. Boom. I had to get it in there. Now, we call it Workwell. And if you go to leadwell.com/Workwell, leadwell.com/Workwell, you can watch a video, check out the demo. Another way is if you will just email Mr. Parnell, he will talk you through it, talk to you all about it. He is the best sales guy we got because he's been using it. And so working through Josh, or you can connect directly with me, Jon@leadwell.com. And I would love to be able to walk through the platform with you and talk to you about any of the questions that you have, or just being able to see it, right? Like, I always love to see stuff and see, okay, because everybody tells us, oh my goodness, this is so simple, but nobody believes it until they can see it. And they're like, oh wait, like, it was really just that simple? Yes.
Yeah. Hearing about it is one thing, but people are visual learners. Yeah. 65% of people statistically 100%. Shows that they are visual learners, and people learn up to 400 times faster through visual aids. So hearing about it was great. When I first heard about this from you, I thought, hey, this sounds great. Yeah. When you showed me the demo, I'm like, this is like, it literally was a no-brainer for me. I'm like, let's do this. And so, as Jon shared, if you want to connect with me, Josh@thebeardedleader. I'm happy to share this information with you. I'm also happy to connect you with Jon as well. If you want to get to Jon through me, again, Josh@thebeardedleader. And so, Jon, you shared with us how we can get in touch with you. Yep. Man, I don't know. I mean, what else? What other insights do you have for us before we cut you loose today?
Man, I think leading well is an approach where we do good work with good people, and we focus on doing that work well. Right. And so I would just encourage anybody that is there that you've heard some of the things that Josh and I have said, and you've been like, okay, that communication, or okay, going and having one-on-ones or any of those things, step into it. That the best, like the first one-on-one meeting that I ever did, the first time that I ever turned over to the team and said, hey y'all, I get the sense that I'm probably missing some communication for you. What's one piece of advice that you would give me? Like, the first time you do that, it's awkward. It fumbles. They look at you cross-eyed, like, what have you done with Jon and why is he here? Or you do the one-on-one and you just end up talking about like their picnic the whole time. And it's like, well, that was a waste of 30 minutes of work time. It wasn't.
That's right.
It wasn't. Yeah. It's just, I have to figure out, how do I engage relationally? Yeah. How do I awkwardly segue it into, okay, what do you need from me as a leader? And what are the most important things you're working on this week, right? Like, and the more you practice any of those things, whether it is, what's one thing I could do to help communicate better how it's going at work? What's one thing that I could do? Hey, what are 2 or 3 things that you're working on this week that are really important? Like, just getting in the habit of connecting, talking with, relating with folks and pulling in that side that you are already doing so well, which is the business and the results and the performance, and just start to bring those two things together step by step, you're going to lead extremely well.
Connection before content. Every voice should be heard. Every opinion should matter. Every idea should be considered. This is a great opportunity to connect with your team to ultimately increase engagement and increase performance. Jon Kidwell, my friend.
Josh Parnell, my friend.
Hey man, thanks for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And thank you for tuning in to the Limitless Leadership Podcast. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great day. Don't forget to smile today. Tell your loved ones how much they mean to you. I'm Josh Parnell, reminding you to keep leading